purple party people at? Where they at?
Get down. Time to get on. It's time to party. Hey, hey. It's time to have fun.
Welcome to Amari Purple Talk, a podcast where I share my thoughts on the Prince musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, the Amari in Amari Communications. Thank you once again for tuning in. If you're listening on the Libsyn Podcast Network or your favorite podcast platform, please download. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. All right, so this is a very special Amari Purple Talk. I'm sure there's been a bit of news going on since the dawn of the weekend. Something happened, and well, we're going to kind of dive into what happened, what does it all mean, and my thoughts. I usually do this show with a set of show notes, but this story continues to gain traction minute after minute. Apparently, there may be hopes for some resolution, but like I said, we'll get into the ins and outs about it in just a moment. But I'll start with my perspective, which I had a pretty good Wednesday. I was recording episode 112 of Amari Purple Talk. I had Rain Baker as a guest. We were going to talk about the Gold Experience, the reissue, and just what the Gold Experience meant in our collective histories. But there was a glitch in the recording and the episode disappeared. So sent Rain an email saying, hey, what's a good day to do the episode? Said Monday. Cool. So Monday we'll re-record that episode and get it out as soon as it's done. But then Thursday rolls around and I'm going through social media and stumble upon Morris Day's recent post where he says that the Prince Estate will not allow him to use the name Morris Day and the time. And from there, the story snowballs. Automatically, there's a reaction to it. Appalled that the Prince Estate would make such a move. There's no real basis in it. It just seemed like a shock, after, hearing about the settlement of the tax estate, the siblings and Primary Wave, they can start to collect monies finally from Prince's work. Like I said, we were all on the buzz of the Gold Experience for Record Store Day, the CD finally being reissued. And this news, it puts a black eye. Not that Morris was putting a black eye on it. No. This is, he has a legitimate gripe about it. We're just shocked that why would the estate make such a move? Why is this happening? He's not hurting anybody. He's earning a living. And he said so much in his podcast that, Morris Day and the time. That's the brand. But again, like I said, this started to snowball as more and more information was coming to the surface. I know it's been kind of hard to keep up with all the latest. And I'm sure, other shows at the time that I'm recording it, other shows have devoted episodes to it as well with a lot more in-depth information. Apologies to Michael Dean. I was extended the invitation to be on the podcast today. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it, and by the time I got the message, it's been too late. But anytime you guys want to have me on the show, that goes for any of the other podcasters as well. Anytime you want me to come on the show, and if we're still talking about this or any Prince-related subject, just let me know, and I'm there. So that being said, like I said, basically, a lot of listeners of Amari Purple Talk, like I said, you probably have heard other shows, other key Prince followers on social media provide excellent context and information and a wonderful job of trying to connect the dots with all of this. A lot of this I'm still trying to process. So I'm kind of off the top of the dome because usually I have a set of show notes and I'm better prepared. But I'm trying to balance my head and my heart right now with all of this because my initial reaction was upset. I'm outraged at this. Like I said, I'll get into the specifics of this in a minute. But just my initial reaction is that, I am totally outraged at this. So, kind of let me give some context first, and I'll go into my rant in just a moment. But starting with Morris Day's first post on social media, where he says, I've given 40 years of my life building up a name and legacy that Prince and I came up with. A name that while he was alive, he had no problem with me using. I literally put my blood, sweat, and tears into bringing value to that name. In fact, he booked me on several tours and many jam-packed nights at Paisley Park under the name Morris Day and the Time. Not once ever saying to me that I couldn't use that name configuration. However, now that Prince is no longer with us, suddenly the people who control his multi-million-dollar estate want to rewrite history by taking my name away from me, thus impacting how I feed my family. So as of now, per the Prince estate, I can no longer use Morris Day and the Time in any capacity. Okay, so this was the initial post. And again, reading this sparked my outrage. Actually, I got wind of it via a shared post, to which, one of the comments said, hey, screw the Prince estate. Let's not, hell, this means buying bootlegs from this point forward. That's what we're going to do because this is messed up. Now, just like with any news story, and again, we're talking music, we're talking the music business, we're talking entertainment. Granted, right now there's a lot of heavy stuff still going on the planet right now. But in comparison, when you get something that makes you feel a certain way, or you get a bit of news, there's the initial reaction to the news, and then as time and the days go forward, you start to get more and more details, more key pieces of information. Still may take a while to connect all the dots, but you kind of have a better understanding and hopefully a more balanced perspective on things. But yeah, my initial reaction was that of outrage. And I'm still pissed. So, because here's the thing. The takeaway in this is the people who control his multi-million-dollar estate want to rewrite history by taking my name away from me, thus impacting how I feed my family. So that sentence, so he's not saying it's the siblings. He's not saying it's Primary Wave that's doing this. And within 24 to 48 hours of this post, there have been key representatives of the siblings, half of the estate, that has gone on record to say that this isn't us. We never had a problem with Morris using Morris Day and the time. This is primarily Comerica Bank still in control until things get sorted out, hopefully sooner than later. But hopefully that will get resolved to where the siblings can have a say, in conjunction with Primary Wave. Again, everything I've looked up about Primary Wave and the artists that they represent, Prince related. They also manage Jam and Lewis's career as artists. Remember, they dropped a solo record last year, kind of Quincy Jones style, a lot of guest artists, but they were the writers and the producers of the songs. Really good album, really great album. So I recommend, if you don't have it, pick that up. But I haven't seen any negative press on Primary Wave, so they weren't the culprits in this. But you've had Charles Spicer, you've had Londell McMillan, you've had one of the siblings, Sharon Nelson, go on record on social media saying, this isn't us. This is Comerica Bank that's doing this. And I get it. It's the music business. It's not the friend business. It's not this is me and my best friend shook hands and made a deal business, but now that he's no longer here, I get that. And again, there's been a lot of information that has come to the surface. I've looked at a lot of comments on social media, and like I said, there's been a lot of true funk soldiers out there that's been connecting the dots, giving some very fair and impartial and balanced information. But within our heart of hearts, we're on the side of Morris Day. I'm on this show, this podcast. I stand with Morris Day. And again, any other show host, if you have me on, I stand with Morris Day, I haven't listened to a lot of the other shows yet, because I didn't want my point of view, or I didn't want to be too swayed or too influenced, because I wanted to just really just deal with my own emotional response to this. Yeah, I believe Sharon Nelson. I believe Londell McMillan. I believe Charles Spicer. I mean, they've gone on record for the longest, saying that they have no control over how the Prince name, the Prince legacy, Prince product. They haven't had a say. And some fingers, they're pointing at Troy. What's it, Troy Carter? They're pointing some fingers at him too. Now, I don't know Troy Carter. I know that he used to be an executive over at Spotify. I guess Comerica made the decision for him to be a part of the decision-making process for the estate. I don't hold Michael Howe responsible. I think his job is basically just curating the vault at this point. And if that has to do with soul Prince product or Prince related artist product, as far as the IP, the intellectual property, trademarks, copyrights, all of that, I don't think that's his responsibility. His job is just to hey, look at what I found in the vault today. Let's put this out. And like I say, I don't know Troy Carter. I don't know his background. I don't know anything positive or negative about the guy. Kudos that with the Welcome to America project, saw the cat on the 60 Minutes show. So I was like, hey, Welcome to America. Damn good album. Cool. Good job, Troy. All right. But again, like I said, I don't know what his involvement is, but it seems to be that the fingers primarily point to Comerica Bank. And again, I get it. It's the entertainment business. It's not the friend business. It's not the, we made a handshake deal business. It's the music business. And in the 21st century, IP is everything. Intellectual property is the new currency. Look at all these NFTs and all the stuff you could do in the digital world now. You can buy a piece of real estate, or you create a virtual real estate and you own it and you make money off of it somehow. I don't know how that works, but that's the kind of world that we live in. Everything, that's the new currency. How we do business, there's still an old way of doing it, but this is the new currency. And I guess they're calling, they call themselves kind of cleaning things up so they can just hand everything into a nice, neat little bow to the siblings and to Primary Wave when it's all said and done, that they've done their due diligence so that there's no loose ends. But their complete and utter lack of understanding of Prince and his world and the artists that are synonymous with it, they dropped the ball with this one. I'm hearing rumors that they're going after the Apollonia name next. Well, what's next? We're going after Shilly's name next. We're going after, is Maserati going to get a letter? Brown Mark going to get a letter in the mail, stop using Maserati? Or hell, stop using Brown Mark. And so far I haven't heard anything about the new power generation or the revolution. Now, granted, did Prince sew that up so tight that it's like, there's no question. That's his name to use, the revolution, new power generation. He's lived with that one for decades. But if Michael B. and Tony M. and Kirk Johnson and Sonny T. and whoever wants to go out as the new power generation, now they can't do it. They can't help protect the legacy. Okay, I get it. Now, let's take an example that I use just about almost every other episode. Jimi Hendrix. Okay, Jimi Hendrix is Jimi Hendrix. You know, yeah, he had the experience. Yeah, he had the band of gypsies. But the sole focus when it comes to the recordings is Jimi Hendrix. You know, Jimi Hendrix didn't go produce a solo Noel Redding album. You know, he didn't go produce a solo Buddy Miles album and call it something else. And if Buddy Miles ever went out on tour, you know, say if Jimmy produced a solo project on Buddy Miles and called it the Purple Hazes, and that band went out on tour as the Purple Hazes, and then when Jimmy passed, if Buddy Miles wanted to go out as the Purple Hazes, you know, the Hendrix estate, you know, Experience Hendrix LLC wasn't going after Buddy Miles saying, hey, you can't use the Purple Hazes. You know, I'm just saying, you know, hypothetically here, there's no Purple Hazes or there's no Buddy Miles project produced, but that's my point. The works of Jimi Hendrix are unique unto Jimi Hendrix. The works of Bob Dylan are unique to Bob Dylan. Yeah, he had the band working with him, but that's not a name that he owned. That was just the backing band. I'll give you another one. When Buddy Holly died, Buddy Holly's family wasn't running around talking about, hey, you guys can't use the name The Crickets. You know, Crickets went on to have a pretty good career after Buddy Holly's death. But again, this isn't the siblings that's doing this. This isn't Primary Wave doing this. This is Comerica Bank doing this. The ones that are still calling the shots. The ones that, I'm sorry, what person in that group understands either the music business, the entertainment business, or let alone Prince himself, to know that The Time, Vanity 6, Apollonia 6, Madhouse, The Family, Maserati, they are just as synonymous with the brand name of Prince. Or do they? Because that's why they're trying to be so fucking greedy as to stop a person that had a hand in building that legacy to continue to make a living. Now, let's get one thing straight, folks. For those out there that just, you know, wear your Prince colored glasses, there's a reason there's only one Prince. Just like there's a reason that there's only one Michael Jackson, one James Brown, one Jackie Wilson, one Whitney Houston, one Aretha Franklin. There's a reason that there's one. It's because there are people whose talent base is so off the charts. It can't be duplicated. It may only come once every 100 years if you're lucky with that. But every musician that played with James, the Jackson 5, the band down in Muscle Shoals, are just as important to the legacies of James Brown, Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin. They're just as important. Because as history shows, those key components is what added to the legacy. Keyword, added to the legacy. So again, those were in it's all belongs to Prince. It's all in. Forget that for a minute. Forget that for a minute. There was a point in time we didn't know any of this. We didn't know Prince wrote, performed, whatever, the instruments, first time album. We thought it was a whole band jamming in that studio. And in some cases it was. It just wasn't Terry Lewis. It just wasn't Jimmy Jam. It just wasn't Monty Moore. It wasn't Jelly Bean. Sometimes Dr. Fink was in the mix, or Lisa was in the mix. But we do know Morris Day played the drums. They worked out that concept together. They worked that out. But let me put some more context into this. So a lot of people are up in arms because they found out that, 2 weeks after Prince died, Morris went to go file the name and trademark the name. Now, let's clarify one thing. Let's backtrack to 2011, or let's backtrack to 2008. Actually, the original members of the Time reunite, and they go on tour. It's a tour I am so sorry I missed. I hate that I missed it, but I got to live vicariously through YouTube. Thank goodness. But it was like, cool, they're back. The original 7, they're back. They're the Time, and they're touring. And they enjoyed touring so much that they decided, hey, let's make a record. And they decided to make a record. And they were going to, tour and support that record. So as that momentum was building, Prince said, well, hey, you know what? You guys can't use the Time. Now, that's the Time. The Time that we all know and love from the Time. The What Time Is It album. Ice Cream Castles. Pandemonium. The Time. As we've been used to calling them since 1981. Prince wouldn't let them use that name. But he was cool with Morris and with the lineup that either he had at that time that wasn't the original members or all of the original members. Whatever that current lineup, it's like, hey, you can tour with Morris Day and the Time. Because we know, the public knows. I know some people out there, but don't people know it's not the original Time anymore? Yes, we do. And let me explain why this is so important for Morris Day to put food on his family's plates. I remember 1986. Color of Success album had been out for a good long while. Had a couple of hits. He's no longer with the Time. But he's touring. And I remember it was I keep wanting to say it's the Budweiser Superfest. It was something else. But it was a tour. It was him. It was Midnight Star. It was New Edition and 2 other acts that I can't remember, but I'm sure they had hits. Granted, people enjoyed Morris Day. And he put on a damn good show. But it wasn't the Time. And we were still fresh off of that. We were still fresh off of the fact that there's no more Time, whether it's St. Paul in the band or not. There was just no more Time. And I remember some of the band lineup. He had a drummer. There was no real, as far as musically, they threw down. But as far as like the look, it just didn't have that cohesiveness of the Time. Because like the drummer, he wasn't suited and booted. Freeze was suited and booted. But the drummer wasn't. He was like, spiked hair and glasses and, had the workout gloves with the fingers cut out on the drum. Damn good drummer, but this wasn't the same. I remember when Morris decided, hey, let me go ahead and go back out as the Time. I know I can't get the original members back or all of the original members back, but let me go out there. And I remember seeing that first tour. Again, damn good show. Now, granted, to me, I was slightly disappointed because it wasn't the original members. But in the times that I've seen various configurations of Morris Day and the Time, I have enjoyed it more and more. And here's the thing. Yeah, it's nice when Prince fans that also love the Time, when they go out and support Morris, whether they're doing something by themselves or whether they're on some package show with, say, Cameo, or I remember once it was them doing a show with Rick James. Whatever group, Zap, that can still get out and go on the road and make their money. It's great when, like I say, when the diehard Prince fans that love the Time just as much, they turn up. But no, we're not the core audience when he goes out there and performs. These are people that, okay, if I was in high school with a bunch of them, yeah, they enjoyed the Time when they had hits. But at the same time, they were buying Lakeside, or they were buying Parliament Funkadelic, or they were buying the Gap Band, or they were just tripping off of whatever was on the radio. Okay, they have more Luther Vandross records in their collection than Prince records. But when there's a big package tour that has Cameo and Morris Day and the Time, and the Barkays or the Gap Band or Zap, when they come to town, that's like, yeah, that's our damn childhoods. And it's that name on the marquee that does it. Yeah, Morris Day could do it by himself, but Morris Day and the Time brings more butts into those seats. And that's why it's important for him to go out as Morris Day and the Time, because that's what we remember, the Time. Especially the first two albums. And, the Triple Threat tour, when he was whooping Prince's ass every night. We remember that. That's the thing. And like I said, for us diehard fans, it never leaves us. We're just as prone to play the What Time Is It album. We're just as prone to play Ice Cream Castles or Pandemonium as if it came out yesterday. We're prone to do that. We're Prince fans. We support everything. Whether, we'll play Apollonia 6 like it just came out yesterday. We'll play Madhouse like it came out yesterday. And these damn boneheads at Comerica, just like what Prince was rebelling against in the first place. These cats that went to whatever, Harvard Business School, so-and-so's accounting, college, USC, yeah, whatever, wherever these cats went to, with their trust funds, not paying a single damn due, or rock climbing on the weekends, listening to Van Halen, trying to tell us how to enjoy Prince or how to enjoy the Time. No, they don't recognize the fact that when Morris Day goes out, he's supporting that legacy. Because as Morris Day and the Time, you're reaching people, like I said, that probably hadn't bought a Prince record since 1984. They just want to relive the nostalgia. They just want to go have a good time. They just want to see a good band. Because, whatever our kids are listening to, sometimes we got to struggle with that. We just want to remember what it was like when we were 15 and 16. And there are people of, that are whatever, teens, 20s, or whatever, that are just now discovering Prince or the Time, or just what the whole purple thing was about, Sheila E., Vanity Six, Madhouse. They're just discovering what that is. But when you have this bone-headed company and all they're looking at is the bottom line, and saying, well, screw you, Morris Day. We don't want you filing the name. We're going to keep it all to ourselves. I get it if you've trademarked the time. All he's doing is trademarking it or copywriting it as Morris Day and the time. And the fact that he did it 2 weeks after Prince died. Look, I'll put it to you this way. I think for about a good year and a half, I've seen that brother's social media posts. I know what it's like to have people die on you. I know what that's like. I've seen that man hurting. I was kind of worried for the brother for a minute, how much he was hurting. But, that writing that book was cathartic. And he recognizes, hey, I go out there every night. He's got that little bit in the show where he gives it up to Prince every show. The little tribute every show to honor it. Now, you don't get over death. You learn to live with it. And living with it, and you come out in that positive place. Because like I said, I've seen that dude hurting, because every picture, he wasn't promoting a record except for probably the Over the Rainbow record. But the man was hurting. That's his best friend, and none of us had a right to be in that dude's head or his heart to say how he feels or how he doesn't feel. And to do it 2 weeks again, it's not the friend business. It's not the friend business. And he did it with the blessing of the people that were running it in the very beginning. In the very beginning. Londell was cool with it. The siblings were cool with it. Nobody had a problem with it. Nobody said, oh, you did this 2 weeks after he passed? How dare you? Nobody was saying that. This is Comerica Bank, and I can guarantee you, there's not a solid Prince fan in that bunch. Not like us. I mean, that may be a good thing in some cases, but not to see the potential. If you've cut a deal or something, or you would even in negotiations, and all of a sudden, see, because what this looks like, it looks like what Walt Disney was doing with Scarlett Johansson. It's like, okay, yeah, guess what? You can, in this particular case, where Morris Day is Scarlett Johansson and Comerica is Disney. Oh yeah, you can use Morris Day in the time. Yeah, go right ahead. These people have been in the position of calling shots how long? Yeah, you could go ahead and use it. And then all of a sudden they start reneging on it. And then when he calls you out on it, you turn around and you make him the victim. That's exactly what Walt Disney did with Scarlett Johansson. And let me tell you, you do that, it doesn't work. You got some legal so-and-sos in that bunch that know you done messed up. Whoever put that PR statement say, oh, we don't know what he's talking about. We have no idea. No, we had a deal in place. Yeah, his statements are totally inaccurate. You just basically get the checkbook out now. That's what you get. Now, you done messed up. You done messed up big time by putting out that boneheaded statement. I don't know what's going on up in corporate world. You got AMC talking about raising theater prices for big blockbuster movies. People are still out here struggling. People still trying to recover from this damn pandemic. And you talking about raising prices because we want to see the Batman? I'm telling you, I take it a good college education it doesn't cut it anymore to be an executive. But to get back to Morris and this whole situation with not being able to use the name. One thing I admire about Morris Day just within the last year, I mean, beyond being one of my top musical idols. Even reason why I even just dabble in music is because of the time, because of Prince, a lot of other musicians, too numerous to mention. But I tell you, the one thing that I admire about Morris Day, just this past year, and this is some Prince level stuff, because where Prince was one of my musical idols, the whole thing, we were struggling with the name change, but once it was understood why he was doing it and the big power plays, some of it was career sabotage, but like a phoenix, he managed to rise out of the ashes of that and come out on top, knowing his business and knowing his worth and not selling himself for less. And this is the thing that I admire about Morris Day within the last year, starting with the reissue of the first album. Starting with that, it was like the minute that was, within minutes of that being announced, he got on social media like, how dare they do this and not even ask if I wanted to be a part of it. And I don't know what type of legal team he has in place, but they managed to work that out, because Rhino was like, oh yeah, sure, Mr. Day, come right on in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I know it's kind of late now with the reissue. We already got it pressed and it's going out. But look, we'll get you involved with some of the promotion of it. Here, come on in. Here, have a seat. Yeah, let's talk this out. We'll work this out. We're sorry. Yeah. So that being said, hopefully there's a What Time Is It reissue. And Comerica, if you listening, there's going to be a What Time Is It reissue, or else. I'm boycotting like a mug. But that's what I admire. It's like, no, we're not going to do this without me. I was a part of that legacy. You're not going to leave me out of that. You're not going to erase me. You're not going to devalue what I put into that. And that's the thing I admire. And I admire this as well. It's like, okay, you're going to try to play me. I'm coming at you. And for now, it appears that they are in negotiations of bringing this to a close. I hope that it results in Morris being able to utilize the name. Again, there are a lot of podcasters. There's a lot of, like I said, Prince personalities, via social media, that have been able to connect the dots. And there's a lot of information that's out there. There's been tons of, media coverage as well. There's an article in Billboard that gives a little bit more detail. But a lot of other news outlets have been picking up on this story, which was surprising. I thought, I never had a clue that this would gain as much traction as it did. But that's a good thing as well, because you now have the court of public opinion to deal with. And again, basically what this means is that, in my opinion, is that, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. Used to work for a couple of law firms, but that doesn't make me a legal expert. But usually with something like this, I guess, on the one hand, Comerica, you're really hurting the Prince estate, because, people aren't aware, beyond the Prince musical singularity, beyond us deep cut Prince fans. A lot of us aren't aware that it's you calling the shots. And that it's just a matter of time before that power shifts back to the siblings and it shifts to Primary Wave. But you're really hurting the Prince estate by doing this. Hell, I was ready to quit doing this podcast in protest of it, and I don't know, something I may do if there's not a resolution. But according to Morris's recent post, he thanked everyone for the support and that they are in talks to bring this to a resolution. So I hope that it turns out. Because I mean, you're hurting the brand, because if you do decide to put out, say, what time is it reissue, and you've got Morris's involvement in it, but then, you know, just to, you know, kind of protect your neck, you can't be out there promoting the time when they won't let you use it. That's just bad business. So, you know, you're not gonna get a lot of support from that. And, you know, you need to work that out with Morris Day. You really do. You know, from, if anybody in that organization listens to this show, or past this episode and every other person's episode, and if you've been paying attention to the social media, you know you have a dumpster fire on your hands right now. Like I said, just crack open the checkbook and make it right. That's it, because you messed up. You messed up. Doesn't matter. Yeah, you within your rights to try to control the IP and all of this stuff. I get it. Again, it's the entertainment business. It's not friend business. But sometimes the entertainment business, just like any business, it gets dirty. And when it gets dirty, you got to find a way to clean it up and make it right. You know, and Comerica Bank, you're not the victim in this. You are not. You taking away a human being's ability to earn a living. And granted, yeah, Morris Day, he could do solo stuff. I mean, he puts out records as Morris Day all day, and that's part of the thing. He can't use Morris Day and the Time and put that on a record cover or on a record label. He can't do that. He has to do it as Morris Day. But if anybody there is listening, you have an opportunity, because it's not just about Prince. Yes, Prince is the center of the universe, of his purple universe. He's the absolute center, but you have all these satellites, which I think that's a pretty damn good name. Satellites. You know, so stop associated artists, proteges, satellites. For that's what I'm going to call from now on. No more proteges, no more associated acts. It's going to be satellites. They are satellites. They are stars in their own right. You know, granted, one Prince. There's only room for one major talent of that magnitude. Like I said, Prince, Michael, James Brown, Mozart, Beethoven, Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix, you know, the Beatles, whoever, you know, Frank Zappa. You know, there's only room for that singular talent of that magnitude. But there are people in that orbit, and they're human beings, and they have a right to earn a living. And in the case of Prince, it's not that, you know, Prince never let you forget who he was. He never let you forget that. But he was generous enough to allow a friend into the fold to become a star, to make something for himself. All of them, whether it's St. Paul, whether it's Sheila E., whether it's, you know, Jesse Johnson, Jammin' Lewis. You know, he gave them the platform and said, hey, you know, I got this time. You know, hey, let me go and produce this record. You know, let me go and make this record happen for you. What you do after that? And yeah, there was some bad blood, Purple Rain and all of that. We get that. We know that's part of the story. But if you've ever noticed, a lot of these, you know, these satellites, band members, whatever, nobody's really, you know, they're able to eke out some kind of a living by doing this. And they're grateful for Prince for giving them that platform. It's like, if you had that, wouldn't you reach back to your community, to your friends or whoever, and give them that opportunity? It's what they do with that opportunity afterwards that matters. But, you know, he wasn't some selfish dude. I mean, he had selfish tendencies, but sometimes, but you know, he gave them that platform. And I guess to end this by saying that you have not only, because here's the thing, him, Morris Day and the time touring, I'm sure, it's like I said, it's money to make a living, support a lifestyle, feed your family, support a family. You're a working musician, so you don't have to work at Target or work at Walmart or work at McDonald's or nothing like that. You're able to eke out a career to do this. So I know y'all ain't hurting on money, because it's like you can regurgitate Purple Rain till the cows come home and still get $1 million plus each shot, each time that you do. You can regurgitate. The money you could make off Around the World in a day would be more than whatever little percentage you think you can get from Morris Day in the time. So to me, like I said, this whole thing is boneheaded and ludicrous to pull a stunt like that. You can't be that greedy. Like I said, I get it. You want to tighten up everything in a nice little bow, but you're not thinking in terms of what's going to benefit the siblings or what's going to benefit Primary Wave in the future. Because granted, yeah, you can make $1 million with Purple Rain or whatever, but I guarantee you make this right, you drop that What Time Is It reissue, and you allow Morris some say in the curation of that project, or whether it's a DVD of one of the Triple Threat shows, or are there some bonus tracks, some stuff in the vault, some stuff that we don't know about that didn't make the record. You could put on as bonus tracks. It won't be just the Prince fans that are buying it. It'll be, you make that aware of people, like I said, that just collect records, that, hey, they, back in the day, they bought that Cameo record, they bought Cameosis, and they bought What Time Is It? And now it's available again because that copy's worn out. And you have Morris on the radio shows and the TV shows talking about that and reminiscing about the good times and some of the crazy times and stuff. And then when he goes out to tour as Morris Day in the time, like I said, you're only gonna make so much money from us Prince fans, but the goal is to make as much money as possible because it is a business. And you just hurt a significant portion of the buying public. And let me tell you, they are predominantly African American. And like I say, whenever Morris, whether it's playing a little small venue by themselves, or if they're on a big arena package date with, whether it's Cameo or maybe Midnight Star got back together, or Rolls Royce and Zapp and the Gap Band. Think about how many butts are in those seats. That's which Morris Day and the Time are reaching. Because they showed up to see them because, yeah, the majority of people in that audience, again, predominantly African American, were in high school or grade school or maybe just the first few years of college during that time. And we just all together reminiscing. Yeah, they may not buy every Prince album, but that's a segment of Prince's fan base that, yeah, if they're aware there's a time reissue, if they're, then they're going to be aware of whatever else you put out by Prince. or whatever. Because again, like I said, there's people, black and white, that don't know a Prince record past 1984, 85, or 86, or even barely 87. So you can't afford to have your brand jacked up like that. And I get it. You know, Prince is the singular talent, and that's the singular legacy you're trying to promote. But what sets Prince apart from your Bob Dylans and your Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles, what sets them apart, what sets him apart from all of them, is that if he wanted to put out a funk record, he creates the time. You know, he wants to express his female side, he puts out Vanity 6 or Apollonia 6 or Sheila E. or Jill Jones. You know, I get it. You know, if there's a legacy, you know, say Sly and the Family Stone's legacy. You know, Sly did some production in his early days, but when it was Sly and the Family Stone, it was predominantly Sly and the Family Stone. You know, he didn't build an empire. You know, really, besides George Clinton in Parliament Funkadelic and the Wu-Tang Clan, you know, that's how you're going to have to deal from that deck. Is that, yeah, you may be dealing with George Clinton, but you're going to have to deal with Bootsy. You're going to have to deal with Funkadelic. You're going to have to deal with Parliament. You're going to have to deal with Bernie Worrell. You're going to have to deal with Parlette, Brides of Funkenstein. You have to approach it from that standpoint. Or, I get it. Yes, like I said, some of y'all went to Harvard or whatever, business school, and you're only looking at that bottom line. But I bet you got a Wu-Tang record in your collection. You got a Wu-Tang cassette or CD in that collection somewhere. That's how you're going to have to deal with certain aspects of Prince's legacy. You're going to have to deal with that Time record. You're going to have to deal with that Jill Jones record. You're going to have to deal with that Vanity 6 and Apollonia 6 record. Because those records, granted, it's not Purple Rain, but it's still an equal part of his legacy, because that's still a testament to his genius. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Let Morris Day have Morris Day in the Time, because those records that were put out by the Time is a testament to his genius, because he created that, the image and the whole bit. And you have people that are walking this earth that can help spread that legacy, you know, keep that legacy in the forefront. You talk about free fucking advertising. It's Morris Day in the Time. Let that man make his money. You know, and then when it comes time to reissue, what time is it? Ice Cream Castles, Pandemonium. You have somebody that was there in the studio with him that can contribute not only to the liner notes, but there might be vault tracks, live tracks, you know, that he has in his possession. And you're going to have to deal. And it's like everybody can get paid. You know, so stop being so damn greedy. Just stop being greedy. You know, and let Morris Day and the Time have the name. So I'm going to end this episode by quoting one of my favorite films, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and say that don't you ever say a bad word about Morris Day and the Time. I'm Richard Cole. Create your day, and then create your life. Peace.
People, where the purple party people now? Time to get on the one. Keep it on the one. all the purple party people, man.